There's a thing about a father being a baby girl's first love. He teaches her what is important, what matters most, and that hard work will never sell you short. A father gives care and protection to his daughter. He's a warrior that goes to battle to keep them safe, a pillar of strength and discipline. His support of her doesn't have an ending point. All of these things are the traits I value the most in my papa. I know this roast thing was his idea, but the only roasting I'm going to do is to try and warm his heart and remind him why all of us sitting here love him and appreciate him. Because he's way more sensitive than he'd like for any of you to know. Underneath that, I'm gonna kick your ass if you cross me face, is a giant teddy bear that loves his people fiercely, and a mighty warrior that would go to great depths to protect his girls. Like when Nick and I started dating, my freshman year of high school, he came to pick me up for the first time, and little did Nick know that my uncle and most of my dad's closest friends were in the basement of the house we grew up in, and they told him to park his ass right there on that seat, and we're gonna have a talk. So on a bar stool in the middle of the basement, my Uncle Jeff, my dad and his buddies, read Nick his rights.
See?
It goes for all Nicks. And then interviewed him like he was applying to be a CEO of one of his companies. It's a miracle he made it out alive. Or during my senior year of high school, when by some small miracle I convinced my parents to let me go to Cancun, Mexico with 80 other teenagers, and that of course we would all be on our best behavior. So before we boarded a Greyhound bus that drove us to Cincinnati to then fly us to Mexico, my dad pulled aside the biggest and tallest of my guy friends, Steve. He put his arm firmly around his neck and said, "Steve, do you see that beautiful little girl over there?" And he said, "Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Brummett. Yes, sir. That's your daughter, Ashley." He said, "Steve, she's one of the most important persons in my life. And I would kill someone if anything ever happened to her. If one hair on her head was harmed. Do you understand me? Do you understand me, Steve?" "Oh, yes, Mr. Brummett, of course. Yes, sure. "Steve, I'm going to need you to make sure that I don't murder anyone and get my baby girl back home safely, okay?" "Yes, sir, Mr. Brummett." Job accepted. I'm not sure that Steve remembers having much fun on that spring break because he was shoved so far up my ass, watching every step and sip that I took. He probably would have slept outside my hotel room door to keep tabs on me if the hotel security would have allowed.
Mission accomplished.
My dad states that when we returned and I stepped off that same bus, that my eyes were red with fury and that the only murder that was going to happen was me and my father for sticking Steve on my own personal security team that I didn't know I had. And then there was the time that as a prank from some fellow seniors and as payback for my sister Andrea's shenanigans against them, our house got wrapped in 1.2 bajillion rolls of toilet paper, as did the cars in the driveway. Roger, all in one motion, came flying out of the house and blew out the front door. He ran on air, basically, to try and snatch them all up in one of his big hands like Godzilla and sent the children running for their lives. And to make sure they couldn't get anywhere when they returned for their car to make a break for it, he slashed the tires on their car.
Wow! That's next level. I actually just took the valves out of the tire stand. That's wow.
It'll look like there's one.
And in true Roger fashion, he waited for them to come back and made them clean up the mess that they had made. See what I mean about that fierce warrior thing? He did everything with intensity. Work as a spectator of all things sport, parenting, pursuing his faith, and coaching his girls on their respective teams. If he wanted something or had a vision, he would do anything, come hell or high water, to make it happen. For example, though it's not appropriate to become a race car driver at 50 years old with no experience behind a race car, and because racing every car you've ever been in on 465 doesn't actually qualify you either, it still didn't stop him from pursuing that dream. You found your way into many a race team as their marketing team, sponsor, even a cameo as a pit crew member, taking tires over the wall after they've been melted off a race car going 220 miles per hour around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. On your business meetings in Hawaii every year that you took to up-team Pro Bowl football games with a crew of people, because, I mean, we're already here, so why not? If you envisioned it, you figured out a way to make it happen. You dreamed big, and you expected everyone else around you to do the same, but to dream bigger. It's one of the many characteristics you passed on to your girls, and I'm very grateful that you instilled that in us. You demanded that we showed up, gave it our all, and never said the words, "I can't." We literally weren't allowed to say it. And if we slipped and said it anyway, you'd make us change those words and would affirm why we could do whatever it was that we thought we couldn't. And I will also always be grateful for that. The most important thing you did in your life was make sure that we knew how madly you loved us and how much we mattered. And you never once turned your back on me. Even when things got scary. And I had to tell you I was pregnant when I was 18 years old. The age of my son right now sitting in this room with us. And I look at his sweet little baby face and can't imagine what it would feel like to hear that come out of his mouth and how scared I would be for what may come out of that. But not you. You stood firm and tall like a tree, and like you always do, told me everything was going to be okay. And you were exactly right. Watching you be Gox to my buddy has been one of my most favorite things. And now getting to watch you be Gox to my beautiful baby nephew, Myrick, well, that is just going to be icing on the cake. Thank you for being you, Papa. For all the teams you coached, bleachers you stood next to, because we all know this man never sits his ass down. The battles you fought with us and for us, for demanding and expecting greatness, for the tears you cried over us, the laughs you shared with us, and the holes you wore in the knees of your jeans because you were on them constantly, praying over every ounce of our lives. Thank you for never giving up on us and contributing so much love and greatness to our weird little blended family. I love you like crazy, Papa. Cheers to you and for sliding into your 65th year like a bat out of hell.